I will call the mistake of medical misconceptions that are serious, of course, but you'll never know it and they will never know it because the assumptions drive them to what they do. And to add to that, you must add the ignorance of the public, complete ignorance of the public, who will never respond to accurate understandings of the eye's behavior, starting at birth. All eyes have been dynamic. They've always been that way. Only imposing wrong concepts on a completely normal eye, you wind up with prescriptions that are doubtful. And a lot of indications are that you have to understand what you're doing, meaning engineering science. So let's see if I can basically summarize. The medical assumptions, because they deal with the public, which is ignorance. And the easy thing is a minus lens, whoever you are, whenever you are. And the only thing you understand is quick fix for the minus. And you don't want to understand anything else. Now, in college, I was isolated in terms of medical thinking. I didn't realize they couldn't get it. So part of the process of engineering is you design things, build them, see if they work. If they don't, you try something else. So this constant build and verify against the experimental data to see if all eyes are dynamic at birth. That's totally isolated from medicine. I'm sorry if there's a disagreement here about who does the measurement and actually understands. So it became very clear to me that the evolution designed eye is always dynamic. It always controls itself to its average of accommodation. There's really no way you can build an eye except that way. And for me, it just means going through and confirming that it's right, having nothing to do with medicine. So I went into engineering because in the Army and electronics, it was mysterious. And so that's the way you think about things. So as I'm graduating from an engineering college, I wrote it up. And that came about because of submariners having their refractive state to change from plus 2020 to minus 2040. And I thought, well, that would be preventable if the submariner was an engineer designing control systems. Then the correct solution would be easy to understand, easy to implement, and he would go from slight negative to positive and back to 2020. But he'd have to use the plus lens when he's in the submarine and make all measurements accurately and personally. Thus the ideal, the dream. So what's the mistake being made by the ignorant public and optometry? The mistake came about because of Johann Kepler of 1610. And what was Johann doing? Well, he was calculating the orbit of Mars with massive difficulties. And so what is he doing? When we do intense work, we tend to do this. Intense work, low light, candle, you're doing this. So he didn't know what was happening, but he knew lenses, plus lenses, minus lenses. And almost by accident, he put a minus lens when his refractive state of his completely normal eye was negative. And wow, minus lens works. So congratulations to Kepler, no insult intended at all. It's rather obvious that you're fixing something and it works. Kepler didn't realize that all fundamental eyes are dynamic, and that in doing this, he was inducing a negative refractive state for his completely normal eye. There was no reason he would know that. So Kepler knew optics, meaning light rays bend at the surface of the cornea. They bend and they go back and hit the retina approximately. So that's fantastic. So he draws this up. It's called the Gillistrand schematic eye, to be correct. And so all science was this Gillistrand, a magic camera eye. And in fact, I think a camera is only invented 150 years later based on this Kepler's eye. And it all works, of course. And of course, the public ignorance does the same thing Kepler did, and they get a negative refractive state for their completely normal eye. Except medicine wants to think that you're fixing an error. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I don't see it that way. So this whole smear, it's like that. Don't blame anybody. Kids do it. Parents don't know enough to stop it or prevent it when the kid's refraction changes from plus to minus. So everybody gets the minus lens. So to clear this up, I would say stop 2 words. Hyperopia and myopia. Those are the most deadly misconception of the dynamic normal eye you'll ever have. So either you think dynamic fundamental eye, in which all eyes are measured and proven to be control systems, not bad cameras. But until you can transition to that type of thinking, you're doomed. It's hopeless. Whether you could conduct a prevention study with electrical engineers who understand this concept is an open question. If you gave me a choice as an electrical engineer, like the submariner, who went from plus, measured using Snellen and test lenses, the only right way to do it, and my refractive state changed from plus 20/20 with a buffer to minus no buffer. And I would do it, as I'm doing now, because I know that medicine can't help you. It's beyond their capability, beyond their interest. And they don't want to take the time to do it or understand it at all. This is not to blame them. It's just their training thinking is all hyperopia and myopia. The entire eye is that. It's either defective hyperopia or defective myopia. There is no intermediate case. It's all, that's in their mind. They're trained so thoroughly. Their minds can't comprehend eyes that are dynamic control systems, as they actually are. So you've been taught a complete myth. Not their fault, because we, the public, want a doctor to magically fix their eyes in an office using a phoropter, and we don't know any better. But even if the doctor did attempt to help, it wouldn't work, because you would find that in ignorance, or thinking eyes are bad cameras, wearing the plus correctly when you're at 20/50 requires an educated mind. And if you try and force this on a person, as Dr. Prentice did, you would say it's tedious and you will not understand the reason why. If you don't understand the reason why, forget it. You're going to stay at 20/60 or whatever. But as the years went by, we have the primate data, and that shows if you're a freshman and you're at 0 diopters, 20/20, it's wonderful. In 1 year, you'll be down to 20/50 and keep on going down. This is dynamic normal eye, totally expected. So again, from the Prentice experience, The plus has got to be long-term when you're at 2050. It's either long-term or nothing. If you're not electrical engineer and converse about the dynamic eye, which it always has been. A camera picture is absolutely artificial, completely invented, has no connection with reality. So I know myself. I did the nose on page habit, and I paid the price. I regret it happened. But you can't blame anybody. You can only do this with electrical engineers and designing control systems, or will be designing, and offer them a choice when they're 2020 measuring themselves at exactly 0 diopters, and just tell them in a year they'll be down to 2050. Whether they will do what Prentice had people doing, I do not know. If they understand control systems, in my mind, they would do it. I mean, completely. Using a Snellen test lens measuring plus or minus with spherical lenses, and they would just do it. And it would be the 4 years you're in an engineering college. It would be a scientific effort, never a medical effort. There's nothing medical in what I say or what I do. So that's a brief summary of Kepler's designed cameras, a wonderful experience design, but was mistaken assumption in there. Add your own commentary. Thank you.